It was among Hollywood's most infamous splits. Sandra Bullock, America's beloved, was astounded by husband after cheating on her with several women. Jesse James is now talking about his children's lives and what has transpired after their breakup. He has a new book out called American Outlaw and Night Lines. With Vicky Mabry, he spoke from dramatic personal issues that made news to legal and professional failures. He swiftly rose to stardom in the early 2000s with the popular show Monster Garage and became well known in the world of custom automobiles and motorbikes. When Monster Garage debuted in 2002, its concept was both straightforward and innovative. Common vehicles were transformed into outrageous functional machines in just 5 days, including projects like a school bus converted into a pontoon boat or a PT Cruiser turned into a wood chipper. However, more importantly, what actually happened to Jesse James after the scandal? His journey became a cautionary tale of what happens when success, fame, and a rebellious spirit collide. The show's blend of anarchy and innovative engineering captivated viewers. In an interview with Popular Mechanics during the show's run, Jesse James talked about his approach to building and said, "You don't get anywhere by playing it safe. The crazier the idea, the better the payoff." His abrasive personality and perfectionism drove much of the on-screen drama, making every episode unpredictable. Fans enjoyed his raw approach to leadership, but his on-camera behavior was also divisive, with critics accusing him of being overly competitive and domineering at times. Jesse James's boldness became part of his brand. This kind of thinking appealed to both gearheads and do-it-yourselfers, reaching a market that valued originality above tradition outside of the wild builds. Monster Garage was successful because Jesse James was a genuine craftsman, unlike many reality TV hosts of the era. He brought decades of real-world experience to the table, which gave the project credibility. However, as much as the show advanced his career, Jesse's reputation for being outspoken and controversial foreshadowed the turbulence that would later define his story. As Jesse James' fame grew during and after Monster Garage, so did the controversies surrounding his professional conduct and personal life. Allegations of unprofessionalism on set occasionally surfaced, and there were some reports of conflict between Jesse and his team because of his high standards. But these stories frequently lacked specifics and were primarily industry rumors. Years after Monster Garage came to an end, Jesse James's public image took a drastic change in 2010 when his well-publicized marriage to Sandra Bullock became the focus of a media frenzy after Bullock won an Oscar. Several women came out and accused Jesse of infidelity in the same year. Almost immediately after the story broke, tabloid headlines revealed a slew of incidents in a public interview with People magazine. Jesse said, "I took a perfect marriage and a perfect life and threw it away," acknowledging his fault. His personal shortcomings eclipsed his professional accomplishments, and the public's condemnation even affected his businesses. The backlash was swift and severe. West Coast Helicopters, once a thriving symbol of his success, came to be associated with the scandals. The cheating revelations transformed Jesse from a respected craftsman into a tabloid villain seemingly overnight, damaging his reputation on both a personal and professional level. These revelations not only ended Jesse's marriage to Bullock but also had a significant negative impact on his media visibility. Former fans and collaborators distanced themselves from him, making it harder for him to maintain the same level of fame and credibility that he had during Monster Garage's height. Although Monster Garage ended its original run in 2006, years before Jesse James's public downfall in 2010, the show's legacy was also significantly impacted by the scandals surrounding him. At first, Monster Garage was praised for its inventiveness and heart-pounding projects, but the lingering controversies retroactively cast a shadow over the series. Although it's important to note that Monster Garage had already started to lose steam toward the end of its initial run due to waning interest in the show's formula, Jesse's damaged reputation made the program less appealing for network revival discussions in the years after his personal struggles. Similar realities of a saturated market and growing manufacturing costs in the end, car shows were more important, but it was more difficult to separate the series from Jesse's now divisive character following the scandals due to the bad press he received in later years. In order to repair his reputation and pursue economic endeavors outside of the public, Jesse James mostly withdrew from the media spotlight. However, his rehabilitation wasn't simple. He encountered mistrust from sponsors and collaborators, and many former supporters turned away from his efforts to rehabilitate. After his highly publicized divorce from Sandra Bullock in 2010, Jesse James' personal life remained a frequent tabloid topic. He quickly moved on, getting engaged to tattoo artist Kat Von D later that year, though their relationship would end in 2011 amid more allegations of infidelity. Jesse occasionally acknowledged the consequences of his actions but often maintained a defiant stance, shifting focus away from mainstream TV appearances and toward niche markets like custom vehicle builds and later firearms manufacturing. West Coast Choppers faces challenges as the brand's previously strong association with his cool rebel persona lost its shine in the wake of his public mistakes. His personal scandals cast a long shadow, with the media continuing to examine his relationships and character for years after the initial backlash. Jessica eventually married drag racer Alexis Dioria in 2013, but the couple announced their separation in 2012. His reputation as a serial cheater became a permanent stain on his public persona, with many people more closely linking him to his personal drama than his professional accomplishments. Professionally, after closing the West Coast Choppers' Long Beach headquarters, Jesse James made an effort to restore his reputation and career in niche markets. Despite the difficulties, he relaunched the brand in Texas, concentrating on smaller-scale operations and custom orders. Jesse continued to be involved in the custom motorcycle industry by depending on devoted followers who valued the craftsmanship over his public presence. With the establishment of Jesse James Firearms Unlimited, a custom firearms company based in Texas, in 2013, Jesse broadened his pursuits. According to True West magazine, his shift to producing luxury firearms was interpreted as an attempt to disassociate himself from the public eye and appeal to a more specialized market. Regarding his new endeavor, Jesse stated, "I've always cared about making something better than anyone else, no matter what it is. I don't care about the fame." Even as he dabbled in contentious fields like weaponry, his emphasis on workmanship remained essential to who he was. In 2021, Jessica made a brief comeback to television with a Monster Garage remake on Discovery+. G's name no longer carried the same widespread appeal it did during the show's original run, indicating the difficulties he faced in regaining public trust and relevance, even though Jesse James is still a talented craftsman. The revival attempted to recreate the magic of the original series, focusing on ambitious automotive builds, but the show's reception was lukewarm, with many citing the lack of novelty compared to newer automotive programming. It has proven difficult for him to completely restore his public image. His post-garage career has been characterized by smaller-scale endeavors and an emphasis on devoted niche audiences rather than a return to prominence. Leaving his wider legacy as a divisive personality solidified in scandal and success in the years after his professional and public backlash, Jesse James has been the subject of controversy, despite the fact that some people still value his skill as a craftsman. Reports of legal and business issues have periodically appeared, highlighting problems over unpaid payments and contracts related to his firms, although none of them have garnered as much media attention as his previous controversies. Although opinions on Jesse are still very different, some people respect his unquestionable brilliance and capacity to build one-of-a-kind, expensive devices. Others still link him to his personal transgressions and the scandals that damaged